Our new song is available for pre-order at getcominghome.com. Check it out. Download iTunes to pre-order and support our work. Here's the big story from the post-millennial. Ryan Routh denied bail. FBI seeks charge of attempted assassination. You know, at first, they were saying it was going to be some kind of gun-related charge, but then they discovered the letter. The letter in which the dude says this was his plan and is offering $150,000 for someone to go after Donald Trump. I'm going to keep the language a little light. Now, I want to stress, ain't nobody got that money and ain't no way anybody's paying it. So it's not a serious thing. And they're only showing the first letter. This came from a DOJ filing. They're now saying that they're going after him for these charges. The U.S. DOJ plans to charge the man accused of hiding with a gun at former President Trump's Florida golf course with attempting to assassinate a major political candidate. McCabe said prosecutors had documented Ruth's effort to stalk Trump during a roughly month-long period in South Florida in an apparent attempt to assassinate him. Prosecutor Mark Despoto said the Justice Department will ask a grand jury to bring more serious attempted assassination charges against Routh, who was handcuffed and shackled at the waist during a hearing before McCabe in which prosecutors detailed some of the evidence collected against him. Now, apparently, this would-be assassin dropped a box off with some guy. That guy didn't touch it until he learned that Routh was, in fact, the suspect in this attempted assassination. So he opened it up, found the letter, and immediately contacted the authorities. I got to wonder, though, because the box had a bunch of stuff in it. I'm wondering if this guy, what did he know, if he knew anything? Could it be that Routh was like, hey, if anything happens to me, check the box? Or could he have been like, hey, I'm going to leave a box at your house, don't touch it, which seems kind of odd. Like, Elad, if I came to your house and I was like, hey, Elad, here's a box, don't open it.
It's like a kill switch type thing.
You'd be like, why are you bringing a box to my house?
I'd look in the box, by the way. Don't trust me. If you tell me, wait for my death to look into this box. I'm going to take a peek prior to.
People have weird friends, though, that he's like this guy who lives in Hawaii. He suddenly shows up. He's like, I'm here for a month. Hold on to this box. And you're like, okay, I guess.
I feel like you should still look in the box, though. Like, what's in it?
Unless you feel like he's sketchy and you don't want to be implicated, right?
So let him leave the box there.
Look, it's weird. I'm just saying, not everyone has the backbone to stand up to their whack friends.
I'd open the box.
There's something deeply unsettling now with how we're seeing copycat attempts from the original Butler attempt. Now we're seeing this follow-up attempt. And despite how honorless and immoral and dumb and wrong political assassination attempts are, we're seeing it become more normalized in our political process. And it's very dangerous as we're seeing rhetoric get more heated and attempts actually be made against politicians running for the highest office is very nerve-wracking. And obviously all the politicians came out widely condemning this. Kamala Harris, I think Joe Biden released a statement condemning all this stuff, but it is unsettling. President Joe Biden.
No, the other one you said?
Kamala Harris.
Who?
Kamala Harris.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand with that weird pronunciation,
I might even say you're being a little bit hateful.
I wasn't even doing it on purpose there, but no, it's unsettling, and we're seeing this across the globe with what happened, unfortunately, in Japan, and it's just unsettling the direction that our political climate's in.
I think turbulence is unsettling. What I think we should be asking is, when is the mainstream media going to drop the word presumptive assault, assassination attempt, right? They're using any kind of modifier to not call this what it is. This guy wrote a note saying this was an assassination attempt. At what point does the mainstream media have culpability here that they are stoking all of these fears that people have about turbulence in this country by not willing to be honest about what happened? I mean, in this case, too, they could even come out on the side of praising Secret Service for having caught the guy. I personally think it's sort of strange he was allowed to get that close to the perimeter, but they could spin this in a way that is pro-big government, just like I'm sure they want to. Instead, they are still trying to say, like, well, we don't really know. He could have just been hanging out. Some people sit in bushes near the president with guns. Like, it doesn't make any sense, and until they are honest about what happened, especially in light of this new court filing, they are responsible for encouraging the instability.
Well, even last week when they were reporting on it, shots fired near Trump's golf course, and they never want to legitimize the story. But Elad, you said something interesting talking about the Democrats who came and condemned what was going on against Trump. There was a journalist, I can't remember who, actually went to House Democrats and said, okay, well then will you stop saying that Trump is a threat to democracy? And every single one of them said, no, well he is a threat to democracy, point blank. And I think that that's really interesting interesting because the same people like Kamala Harris, who are all saying he's a threat to democracy and then saying, but we don't want to see political violence. And it just contradicts itself because I think we're going to see more of this. You know, we're less than 50 days out from the election. We've now had 2 attempts and all of these stories keep happening. How many more Americans have been radicalized by the rhetoric that is pushed by the left that they're going to continue to do something until they harm President Trump?
Right.
So long as it's, we obviously need to balance our First Amendment rights to free speech and calls for violence. While I disagree that Trump is a threat to democracy, I believe in their right to say it. And so long as it isn't a direct call for violence, I think it's relatively kosher.
Yeah, but we're talking about decorum, right? I don't think the idea is you're not allowed to say that and we will use the weight of law against you. We're saying, dude, please just chill out for now, right?
The silver lining here
reasonable.
was I think there was both Democrats and Republicans were agreeing to fund more Secret Service for Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and RFK Jr., who might need more Secret Service help after
RFK
these
Jr.
journalists are
Doesn't have
after
it
him.
anymore.
Well, not anymore, but the bill was supposed to include him.
Really?
And
Well, I
he'll
think
need
it's
it
smart.
with these journalists chasing him and
I
getting all
know.
these texts.
Right.
I mean,
we'll get into that later.
Dangerous women.
The biggest issue for me is that we've had 2 assassination attempts. One obviously more dramatic on stage. Trump was hit by the bullet. One, thankfully, shooter didn't get off any rounds. But that was 2 months apart.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. I agree with you. They are, if you don't like Donald Trump, you have the right to say he's a threat to democracy. But in reality, political violence in this country is actually coming from one side of the aisle. And I think that the idea that, or the reality that the Harris-Walz campaign is just sort of ignoring it, that they're not addressing it. They're the ones who, at the DNC, made a huge deal out of gun violence, and they're still not acknowledging that they also play a huge role in provoking violence among people who especially are maybe not super stable and prone to irrational and dangerous actions. To me, that shows a disregard for this thing that they are claiming is important. I mean, I was listening to this report from NBC News today where they're saying, how there was Walz calling Trump weird, and that was the big rhetoric war for a minute. The next one is going to be, they're going to call him chicken and have a staffer go to one of his events dressed as a chicken, because they think that's how they'll goad him into going to the CNN debate that Kamala Harris wants to take part in. I mean, so much of this is just Trump is the bad guy no matter what, and will ignore the fact that he is actually the most in danger out of anyone on the political campaign right now.
One of the big talking points this morning was that the DOJ had no reason to release the letter. All they're doing is telling everyone that there's a bounty on Trump's head, which could only inflame things. I completely disagree with that sentiment, though I do respect to a certain degree. So I got this tweet from Matt Walsh. He said, they didn't release the Covenant Shooter Manifesto because they were allegedly afraid it would inspire more shootings. And yet within a week, they release a letter from Trump's would-be assassin where he openly encourages more shootings and offers to pay for them. Now, I think Matt brings up a good point about the fake, we're scared of, it could inspire people. However, I think this benefits Trump. And I don't think there needs to be a knee-jerk reaction of like, how dare the DOJ do this? This shines a spotlight that is very difficult for the corporate press and the woke media industrial complex to deny that Trump is the target of extremists. Whoopi Goldberg went on The View and she was like, stop saying both sides. It's only one side. It's them. Yeah, well, now we got a letter. This guy planned this months in advance. You can't keep trying to play this game where you blame the right for what the left is doing. By putting this letter out, I think it shows right now. This guy, first of all, everyone should know this. This man was attempting to assassinate Trump. It's undeniable. He wrote a letter explaining as such, and they have proven it to the people by publishing at least the first page of it. So now they can't try and brush that off. Trump is and currently is facing a threat of assassination, and it's not going to stop with this guy. I think just bigger picture, releasing this allows us to prove the point and say, guys, tone it down. Stop blaming the right for what the left is actually doing. And now the next time someone sits down with Whoopi Goldberg, they can be like, well, I mean, you say it's the other side, but who was it who published a letter months in advance with a bounty on Donald Trump? It is not conservatives going around threatening Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. We don't want any of it. Nobody should be doing any of that stuff. OK, but at least now we can once again be like, there it is. Here's your narrative. It's garbage.
And I think it's good for the American people. I mean, remember after the Butler rally, everyone wanted information, and the Secret Service and the FBI immediately clammed up and basically said very little and then would kind of refute themselves. He has no social media presence. Well, actually, he might have some. It's not political at all. Actually, he's been researching both campaigns. I think Americans want a level of transparency, and I'm grateful that there is a way to give it to people without it being a betrayal of trust. A court document is a totally legitimate reason to say, here is why we know this is an assassination attempt, especially since I think a lot of Americans were completely confused as to why he only faced gun-related charges and not attempted murder or something more serious.
It's unsettling how these were two supposed lone wolves without any assistance from any intelligence agency. It really makes you wonder what China or Iran would be able to accomplish with a seasoned spy who is making a serious attempt with a team behind them.
But it could be something like this. And the reason is, we do know from, I think it was Matt Gaetz, right? That there are 5 assassination teams that they know about targeting Donald Trump. They're going to go through proxies to create plausible deniability so they don't start an international incident or create a casus belli for war. Of course, the U.S. could always just claim, we know that this was actually driven by this group. But if you actually had like a known Iranian operative caught in the act, I mean, you're going to get a declaration of war or something. I'll tell you what's scary.
Well, they do have plans.
Right.
Tentatively kill Mike Pompeo, John Bolton.
Let me tell you this point, and I think we should be protecting all of these people. I am not fans of those guys, but this is America, and we don't want foreign actors coming in here and disrupting our politics. We disagree. We should be allowed to disagree. But the concern is, I forgot where I was going to go. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. But I think the Iranians had plans to...
The FBI came out and they were like, we have foiled a plan to assassinate Donald Trump from the Iranians.
Here's what I was going to say.
But that guy had received a visa through the U.S.
And
government.
so the issue we've brought up on the show before with a bunch of anti-interventionist conservatives is that were Donald Trump to be assassinated or Joe Biden by a foreign government, we must declare war against them. Even if you were the staunchest of anti-war intervention, the United States nor any nation survives if they allow their adversaries to literally kill their duly elected or established leaders. And that terrifies me. I don't want intervention. I don't want war. I don't want the U.S. to invade anywhere. But you're hard-pressed to make the argument that you would allow a foreign country to murder your president and you would not have any kind of reprisal.
It would probably be the thing that would most likely spark a civil war in America had it not been a foreign actor that achieved Trump. If it was in Butler. In
fact, with Butler, there was talk about it. Iran may have, they said, Iran had plans to assassinate Trump, but that never, no one, what was that all about? I don't know. If Trump were to be assassinated and it turned out to be Iran, that might actually be one of the most, and this is terrifying and in no way a good thing, but it would bring the Americans together because the neocon, neolib establishment is going to jump on board and say, we got our casus belli. Mm-hmm. And the right's going to say, a nation cannot stand if it allows this to go, unreprised. Yeah. And so you're going to have some kind of unity of, we've got to topple that government by any means necessary.
It would be rallying Americans together against someone who is an outside threat. But right now we only have homegrown crazies doing this. And I think really their influence, again, I'm going to say by progressive narratives that advocate for violence, and that's my personal opinion. I think this is the issue. In this case, it's not exactly the enemy they want because it just divides Americans further. And I think that's actually feeding into a level of fatigue. Americans are tired of feeling unsafe. And if you're Kamala Harris and Tim Walz ignoring this, then you're actually telling them that they are doomed to this downward spiral for the rest of their 4 years. Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.